I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to join us. So with that, I'm going to start. I've already started a recording also. This is OpenRoads ConceptStation Tech Talk, and I'm going to be showing you the various things you can do with ConceptStation. So this is actually a visualization that was done based on a diamond crossing that was designed using OpenRoads ConceptStation. And once you take it into visualization, and this is one of the end results that you may want to have, is the ability to quickly design and visualize the project so that you can not only get user buy-in, but you can also get rough quantities. So this is literally the process that was utilized to design this particular crossing. You can see that you can place bridges and you can move the piers and actually set them up, and you can design the intersections as you go through the project. So here we're putting in an auxiliary lane. Now we're doing another one and adding it, and we're doing it to the other side of the diamond. We can review in 3D. We've got a raster image in the background so that we can clearly see what the project will look like. So why would you want to use OpenRoads ConceptStation? It literally is options plus engineering. So linear optioneering is the phrase that we've coined for it. It allows you to do very quick prototyping and to generate project estimates. So you can actually do different options and see which one makes the most sense financially and which is most feasible financially. And then you can communicate those project options through visualization. You can also take that data and export it out to bring it to your final design, whether you're working in SS2, SS4, or hopefully an OpenRoads Designer. So you can bring in your data from a local file. You can also reference in reality meshes if you have them, and these would be created using context capture. You can bring in your pod files. You can also attach DTMs, ALGs, that kind of thing too. Or you can go out and use the GeoCoordination Services. You can use, you do want to set it up so that you have your projection correct from the beginning. The projection, it saves time at the end when you go back out to design if you set up your projection to be the projection that your designers are going to work in too. And their USGS now has some alternate sites to pull data, and there's some very, very fine data available to pull down if you don't have your data locally collected. We do adhere to AASHTO standards, and our cross-sections are very familiar to what you've used in any of our design products. And the cross-sections are basically more simple than what we see in our templates in our final design, which just makes sense because this is really conceptual. So you have horizontal editing that allows you to do it based on the feedback that you get on the screen. You can look at your verticals, and you can also look at your cross-sections and edit those verticals accordingly. You have lane markings that are delivered, and these are automatic. They can be set up and tied to a template as you're actually building the template or modifying a template. And then when you actually run that road, when you place your linear item and you select the template of choice, you will get the lane marking as you actually place it. We also deliver a series of bridges, and those bridges allow you to place them and modify them in situ, and you can also edit those bridges. You can quickly design intersections. One of the things you'll want to consider is if the lanes are different on the east versus the westbound road, you will want to use two separate templates to design that so that it transitions cleanly through the intersection. For example, if you have a left turn lane and a right turn lane on the opposite directions, you'll want to use two separate alignments, two separate templates to design that intersection. Once your intersection is in place, you can edit it, and we're going to show you some of that. And you can also place a ramp. A ramp is just a special kind of alignment that allows you to connect up to an elevated section of a road, and you can also edit that ramp by modifying the various values that are associated with the geometry. retaining walls can be placed, and you can also evaluate the quantities of those retaining walls, which is nice, so that you know if it's more feasible financially to build a retaining wall or to go with a fill scenario or a cut scenario. So here we're going to look at placing a retaining wall over this road, or with this road. So here's our first we're going to place a bridge, and then we're going to place some wing walls, and then we're going to place a retaining wall. So once the bridge is placed, there is an automatically placed, the retaining on the back of the bridge is automatically placed, and we can change the angles of those wing walls so that they're more aesthetically pleasing or more appropriate for your design. You can modify the piers, you can change the type of piers that are available, and all of this is like real time. It's very quick. So here we're going to change the column count to 4, and we're also going to change the type, or we could change the type. We're going to change the type of the cap. Okay, so you can see that you can also adjust the values there. Now we're going to change the abutments and give it an angle, a skew angle, 45 degrees. And we can see that that actually gives a different perspective for the drivers and everything. Now we're going to just rotate it and look at it and evaluate our design and see if we like it. And at this point, if we wanted to go to visualization, we could, but we're still building out the project. So we're going to place an auxiliary lane there on our ramp that's going onto the road, and we can adjust. This is an example of adjusting the actual the radius of that curve. Now we have a lot of fill in this area, so maybe a retaining wall would be more feasible. So we can go to our we can select a new, we can go in and change that if we want to. We can also change the lane markings. So now we just place the wall with the ramp on the ramp. And again, we can see where we can edit the start and stop station of that wall if we want to. So we can just select it and make a modification to its actual placement or to the alignment, and because the wall is tied to the alignment, it updates them automatically if you change the alignment radius, for example, which we just did. Now we're going to look at the cost, and we didn't do a comparison on this particular project of the cost before the wall or after. I'll be showing you that in a minute, because that, to me, the best way is to actually get a series of options that you can evaluate as a team. If we want to go in and actually look at the detailed costs, you can actually change the values of the detailed or of the items that are allowances. We can export this out to Excel, and then we could bring it into another product to actually do some comparisons if we had something like that set up. So here we're going to go now and take the skeleton is all in place, so now we can lay the skin or go to visualization. So you can really think about, once you have your design, once you have the bones in place, then you can go out and you can actually take it out to LumenRT. And LumenRT is part of the product. You have actually it's more of a LumenRT Lite, but you can do visualization and create a cube if you want to send it out. So this is just taking it out, and at this point, if we wanted to augment the design with additional trees, vehicles, which we'll be doing in a little bit, you could. So you can also check your bridge clearance to see if you have enough clearance for your road, and this is literally just a check to see if it matches what your standards are set to. So we're going to do that. We've got a bridge in place, and we can see that the bridge is not safe. So we're going to have to edit the vertical alignment to make it so that it has appropriate clearance, and then we'll recheck the clearance. And we do that by adjusting the vertical alignment. And you can see that when we were looking at the vertical alignment, that we also saw the cross-sectional view of the road that was passing underneath the bridge. So we can place a ramp. A ramp is just a special kind of alignment and with the bridge. So here we're going to augment this and put in a ramp. So there's our road that we've drawn in. The elevation doesn't connect up, so we'll want to change the vertical to bring it up to connect up to the road that we're ramping off of or ramping onto, depending upon what part of the world you're working in. And we can adjust the vertical accordingly. Now we want to actually set up a connection, an intersection as it were, which is the bridge ramp, to actually put in. First we're going to put in a bridge, and then we're going to actually set it up so that the intersection is clean. Now if we look at it, we can see the bridge, and it looks good. Now again, we could adjust the retaining walls if we wanted to. So we offer and deliver a number of templates, and you can edit and create your own templates by using the parts that we give you. There is a varied amount between roads, 2 lanes, 4 lanes, 6 lanes, and then we also have the various components to build those out. And again, this is a conceptual design, so you don't want to have super complex templates like when you go to final design. So you really are doing it for initial project costing and for visualization. So you want to build out that skeleton. We deliver furniture signs for your visualization, plus various linear aspects, street lights, traffic lights, and also barriers and individual items you can place on your road. And you can either do this one at a time, or you can do it by actually indicating a station range. So if you had lamps that went down the center line of the road for the entire runway of a busy intersection, for example, or a divided highway, you could do that. The linear furniture, guardrails, fencing, and sound barriers. And again, these are all delivered with the product. So you can divide a road that already exists. And this is one of the things that people run into a lot. And it's just a matter of using a specific tool that's part of the product. So we're going to divide this road. And one of the things you'll want to consider when you're doing your design is you've set up a geospatial projection when you began, and that projection would be either in metric or survey feet or international feet, depending upon where you're designing in. Well, you'll also want to make sure that your readouts on the settings are that match that, so that when you actually go out to export your data, everything is synced. So we've placed a divided road, and now we can change the marking on that. And we can also change the radial curves on the exit into the divided section. So we're going to change that from 25 feet to 250 to make it a smoother transition. And the update's literally that fast. So occasionally you may have existing existing tracks that you want to also include in your project. If you're doing final track design, you'll be wanting to use OpenRoads ConceptStation rather than Road, because you can only place existing track in the OpenRoads ConceptStation. So we're going to place an existing track in this project just so that we can also visualize it and consider any ramifications, bridges, etc. that we may be doing. So you have the option when you're placing a vertical or a horizontal geometry, and the vertical is going to be created based on the terrain that you've brought in. You can either do it by best fit or a straight line. And then once you've got that vertical, this was a straight line. Once you've got that vertical, you can go in and adjust it. And you can insert PIs and insert curves, etc. and modify it. So there's the track. And you can see that it is a ballast and rail track. So one of the really great things about the product is that you can get good baseline estimates to what a project's going to cost. And then you can do comparisons by doing modifications to the design and even saving that out as options. And you have the capability of editing the detailed initial values, so that if you know that you're working in one district, say, and gravel is more expensive in that district. You can change it per area that you're working in, and you can actually set up a seed file that is specific to that district. You can place culverts in this product now, and a culvert can either be circular or rectangular. And again, you can give it elevations starting and stopping and diameters and the station ranges that it's placed at and skew angles, or the station that it's placed at. Excuse me. Roundabouts are one of the deliverables, and this actually creates a very beautiful mesh that will be exported out in the final DGM that you export. And you have, you need at least one alignment, but you can do it with multiple alignments, and you identify each one of those secondary alignments as you go. So you start with the primary, and then you go through the secondaries. And you can define the inscribed radius and the circulating width, and you can also give it an apron and a tilted plane if you want to. An intersection requires at least 2 alignments, and again you have a primary and a secondary. In this case, the templates, it's 2 geometries intersecting with the same, essentially the same template on both, so that creates a very clean intersection. If you have turn lanes that are, say you have a turn lane on the westbound and a turn lane on the eastbound, you would want to have this be 2 separate alignments with 2 separate templates. So once you have, in this case we've got 2 scenarios, a roundabout and an intersection, we may want to look at what the cost would be to actually create, to evaluate whether the roundabout is more cost efficient relative to the standard intersection. So here we're going to actually do a comparison between. So we've got 2 simple alignments, essentially the same template. You want to verify that your vertical alignments actually meet up where the intersection for a cleaner, otherwise you're going to end up with a lot of fill and kind of an odd intersection. So this is the first cost, and it's just the intersection alignments that we're looking at. And so it's considering the entire road for both north and south. So here we have the detailed cost, and we can make modifications to any one of the rates on the right-hand side. And then we also have the allowances that we can change. And allowances are really just that, you know, for drainage, electrical. You're not designing the drainage or the electrical in this, but you can assign alignment. So here we're placing a roundabout, and we're identifying the primary and then the secondary road, and then we're going to compare that cost. So we're going to want to refresh to get new data. And it's calculating the quantities. And we can see that the roundabout is actually less expensive than no intersections at all, which makes sense. You couldn't do that. It wouldn't be safe to drive. So we're going to save that out as an Excel file so that we can evaluate it as a report after the fact and share it with our shareholders. And now we're going to save this particular one out so that we have it, so if we want to go back to it, we can. So we do a save as, and we're going to identify the folder that I'm working in, and I'm going to save this as a new roundabout DGNDB. And so it's actually compacting the file. Now, I want to go back into the other file, and I want to remove that that roundabout and actually do its standard intersection. So I'm going to just delete that, and I can just go in and hit the garbage button if I just, garbage can, which is the delete. Or I can actually go in and if I was still active in the file initially, I could hit the undo. So now I've placed my standard intersection, and I'm going to re-estimate the cost. And it's slightly higher than the roundabout. So at this point, I will want to save it out and export to Excel. So now I have the data and an Excel file to support it, to bring to the shareholders to evaluate which route we want to take for feasibility. So there's a one-click export out to take to native, whether you're doing OpenRoads Designer Connect Edition, InRoads GeoPack, SS2, SS4. The files that are exported out can then be brought forward into the design. So we also have tunnels that can be supported in the product, and these tunnels, you can give it a vertical offset, you can give it a speed, and it will use and actually it's in this release, we have both twins we can do over a divided highway, we can do two tunnels. We have circular, we have box, and actually arch is supported in this release. I should have updated this. Apologize for that. So here we're going to place a tunnel, and this is a mountainous region in the Northeast. Actually, it's in Vermont. And we're going to just place a tunnel, and we're putting the vertical alignment based on the topography. So when we look at that vertical alignment, we're going to see that there is quite a bit of elevation difference as it goes over that mountain, or through that mountain when we go. So we're going to select that and look, and we're going to modify that vertical to actually put in to make it into a tunnel. So we want it to have to be below the hill or the mountain. Actually, it's probably not so much of a mountain, it's more of a several hundred feet. So we're going to delete some more PIs, and it's just a matter of selecting the PIs that we want to remove. And we can shift those PIs over, we can insert PIs if we need to, and it's just a matter of clicking on the area that you want to place it, and you have the option of either delete or insert a PI. Now we've selected a tunnel, and the tunnel is exported as a mesh also. So even though the corridor, the road is there, the tunnel itself will be a mesh when you export that file, and I'll show you that. So we can see the tunnel, and if we rotate it, we'll be able to look into the tunnel, and we're going to actually drive it in SS4. So I'm going to just rotate around the entrance of the tunnel so you can see in. And again, you have the capability when we go to the export of exporting this DGN, or the DGN DB to a DGN. So now we're going to go to the backstage, and we're going to select export, and this is where we can bring out our data to bring it to the final design. So you can export the traffic if you've got it designed, which I'll show you later on, but in this case we really just want to put it into the file that we're working in, into the folder we're working in, and then we're going to take that ALG, the land XML file, into a terrain, and we have the IRD so we can import it as a corridor. Or if we just want to see it drive through the DGN using the alignment, we can do that too, which is what I'm going to show you. So now I'm going to take the data out to SS4 Power Inroads, and I've already got the terrain, which is the existing ground that was exported out, and the ALG, and then I have referenced into my 3D model the DGN that I exported out. So we're going to drive up to the road, and I'm just using the standard 3D drive-through tools that are part of our all of our civil products, and so we're going to actually drive into the mesh tunnel so you can see the details of the tunnel once you bring it forward into your design product. And you can see that there's lights and side rails. So we do support ProjectWise within ConceptStation so that you can actually bring files in and out using your ProjectWise setup. We have interoperability with VISSIM. VISSIM is a separate license, but it integrates very nicely with OpenRoads ConceptStation. And from VISSIM you can take it to OpenRoads ConceptStation, or from VISSIM you can take it to OpenRoads ConceptStation to import traffic simulation. And then you can take that out to LumenRT for visualization. So here we're going to do the export, and we're going to export out the traffic, and then we're going to import that into VISSIM. Now VISSIM has, it's not a Bentley product, so it's a slightly different interface than we're all used to, But you have the capability of taking that traffic that you've designed and then actually applying the number of vehicles or the roads that you've designed and applying the vehicle volume so that you can see, what does it actually look like when heavy traffic is working through the design that we used. And once we've got it, we can actually save that out as a final to bring forward. It's a little bit of a different interface to get used to. So now we can bring that in. And we can go to visualize. So we can actually see that traffic. And if you have staging at stoplights and timings, you can check that too. That's something that VISSIM does quite nicely. So you can see if your turning patterns and your the timing works for the amount of traffic that you expect on the various roads. So taking it out to real-time for real-time rendering and bringing the skeleton with the beautiful skin and the additional trees and people and cars and wildlife that you've added to it, you can then create a live cube with the video to actually present in a meeting or to show the other shareholders what it'll look like. So here we've got additional trees have been added. We're placing vehicles now within the LumenRT interface. And you can set the background scene to be appropriate to the area that you're working in. So if you were in an area that has mountains, you can pick that. If you're in an area that's near the coast, you can pick that as a backdrop. So I thought that this kind of information would be of use to you. We have OpenRoads ConceptStation training available to you now. There are the videos, various videos are there, and plus you can also take a course. Here's some product data information. If you want to ask questions, you can go to the communities and to the road site design and go to the wiki that is specific for ConceptStation. And again, we have lots of videos, and there's always more videos out there on the Civil TSG site. And then there's Bentley Communities is always your go-to place, or should be. If you're interested in future events, we have that, and also just product training in general. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording, and we're going to open it up for questions.